Hey, let's talk about Robert Griffin III because I could have been just like that man. So why is the internet clowning RG3 now as if we haven't been doing this for like the past 6 years, but and trust me, we gonna talk about them things, especially that haircut. Oh my God, boy. I don't know who let him out the house. Actually, I do. That'll be later. So who is Robert Griffin III? And if you don't know, can't wait to educate you on this one. Robert Griffin III is a sports media analyst that was in the NFL for a certain time. And honestly, he was robbed of more playing time because of injuries. He definitely should have had a longer career. And I'm at least happy that he can connect with the sport in a way that is not taxing on his body or his mind. However, he must have scrambled some brain cells up there because the way that he is doing sports media analyst is very problematic for black folks. Specifically black women in this case, but in general, the way that he perceives blackness in media ain't good. That shit is, tragic. And one of the black athletes that's been in his crosshairs for a minute has been Angel Reese, especially when comparing her to Caitlin Clark.
Check against Caitlin Clark. You remember that? On the sideline, just... yeah, baby, get her, you get her. Who celebrates like that for a flagrant foul on another player if they don't dislike that player? Yeah, baby.
It's pretty difficult to put into words how disgusted I am.
He paints Angel Reese in his analysis as being a very ratchet, loud, in-your-face, ignorant black woman. He may not say those things, but the implications is definitely there though. For Angel Reese, a lot of his criticism seems to be projecting that she doesn't fit the mold of what he thinks a black athlete should be. And it's weird that he's clinging on to criticizing this idea of blackness because he understands intimately what it is to be an athlete, especially a black athlete. Anything that you do or say will be misrepresented in the worst way possible, and he is doing nothing but contributing to that. And it's weird because he can see a white athlete like Caitlin Clark talking shit on the court and say that's real passion, but if it's Angel Reese, that's ghetto and ratchet and it should be out of the league. And I'm using Angel Reese for a reason because she ain't that good.
Long pass, perfect to Reese. Minescu brought help over on Kennedy. Carter, beautiful basketball again. No Brianna Stewart today. Chicago.
She's mad because...
and I'm not sitting there saying like, oh, I could beat her in a one-on-one. Nigga, she dogged me straight up. But her stats are not in that superstar status. Like we can be fair and say that. And you're not problematic or wrong for wanting to critique specifically her game. She's an athlete, right? I'm not sitting here defending Killian Hayes, bro. Like he's ass. So thankful you're off my basketball team, man. And because of the way he critiques black athletes such as Angel Reese, he gives racists a free pass to just be racist. He is literally operating like a dog whistle for him. Because their immediate defense when you accuse them of being racist towards Angel Reese is, oh, well, RG3 said it, he can critique her, why can't I? Buddy, you know you can't do that, you copy paper cadet. You know what you're doing. And even in my notes, I wanted to say that RG3 was unaware of his biases towards white women. And then I realized that brother's a milkman. Like I'm talking about 2% whole milkman. And before we get on to that, I want to say I do enjoy the fact that Ryan Clark had something to say about this and kind of shine the light of how he's been doing this fetishization towards white women.
The one thing we know about RG3 is he's not having conversations at his home about what black women have to endure in this country, about what young black women and athletes like Angel Reese have had to deal with being on the opposite side of Caitlin Clark's rise and ascension into stardom.
And hearing Ryan Clark say that he's not having these conversations about what black women have to endure makes me realize that he's not only aware of this, he's actively avoiding it too. And I think an important thing to note is how he is fetishizing his white wife. He don't just love her, he loves her white skin. And I think a great example of this is to go through and look at these milkman tweets, man. After you see these tweets, I want to say, I promise you, everybody in interracial relationships, do not act like this. I don't act like this. I think the least tame of this is this first tweet, which is Super Saiyan Milkman. Like if this is my first time seeing this tweet, bro, I'm not reacting crazy. He's making a joke. Now let's go to this next one. Doctors say the best milk is breast milk. And I want you to take notice of something here. Do you see that man's face? That is a man that is looking at 2% in 2 jugs. And the third tweet, Post Malone concert with this tall glass of milk. Ooh, like, In the last one on National Milk Day, cookies and milk. Oh my God, Robert Griffin III. You know, on the surface, you shouldn't take these tweets seriously. They don't mean anything. He's just talking about milk. But then you realize that describing his white wife as a glass of milk is still objectification. He literally looks at her as a source of nutrition. That is the most dehumanizing shit you can say about your partner, bro. And it speaks to the bigger issue of how he doesn't look at her as just a white woman. He looks at her as a savior of whiteness that he can appeal to. And you might be asking me, well, how do you know this about Robert Griffin III? Did you grow up with him? No, I didn't. But I definitely know what his bag is because I almost hopped in there with him. And before we get into this, I want y'all to know this is coming from personal anecdotes of black folks that I've seen that are very similar to him. And this is educated speculation based on that degree I'm not gonna pull out today. I do not know this nigga personally. I don't know him. From the research I've done on RG3, which admittedly is just me looking at Wikipedia, but hey, RG3 grew up on an army base with old school army parents. Not only were they old school army parents, they were old school black army parents. And from the outside looking in, the army gives you a routine, a structure to always follow, and a standard to always aspire to. And because black parents want to protect their kids from the world, which is a good thing, I'm not hating on that, but in the way that they socialize him, they probably told him to be a good black kid. And the reason why good black kid was in quotes is because that's not an objective thing. And his parents' definition of a good black kid was probably a black kid that doesn't sag, don't listen to all that rap music, can speak proper English, etc., etc. And over time, socializing your kid to that probably made him look at black kids who do not fit that mold of a good black kid as lesser and more ghetto than him. Because he can speak proper English instead of African American vernacular, that he is somehow elite. Almost in that same lens of black excellence, but I don't have enough time to really dig too deep into that one. And knowing that he's an army-based kid, I know for a fact he probably changed schools every single year, bro. And if you're changing schools every single year, you don't have community. You don't even have time to be around other black folks because you're constantly trying to learn how to socialize. He more than likely got his socialization around white folks, and they validated the things that they saw good rather than validating him as a black person. And his white peers more than likely socialize him to also view black people as more ghetto if they didn't follow the way that he was, because he was probably the token, I would know from experience. Because I also went to a predominantly white high school, but the only difference is I loved my black self, and I've always had a community of black folks to always home base to. I did not always have to subscribe to their status quo because I never lived it, you know what I'm saying? And in my school, you could tell the black folks that were not socialized around other black folks. They almost looked awkward in conversation. And one of the biggest reasons why I know he's been socialized around this, and this leads to his worldview, look at them damn haircuts. That brother got my type of hair, and he was probably going to sport cuts or great clips to get that cleaned up. Like, look at these cuts. You can tell a black person was not involved in that process. And it's funny that I say that because roast culture is definitely a way to get socialized into the black community. Everybody get roasted. Shit, I got fried up. I still get fried up to this day. But what you learn in that is how to banter and how to communicate, because in that roasting culture, there is a language to be understood. RG3 don't know this, which is why he probably got that mop top on his head. I don't even know what that is. Like, I can't believe he left out the house. Oh, but getting back on topic of the white peer socialization, he was more than likely the only black person in these spaces. And when you're the only black person in these spaces, you feel very isolated. You feel very separated from everyone else because in all intents and purposes, you're not them. You feel very misplaced, you know what I'm saying? In the way that black people, or I want to just say, but I'm gonna have to censor it. The way that black people socialize by white folks get their reassurance is through white validation. And one of the ways you can get white validation is by working through their definition of merit. That's either doing it through academics, athletics, theatrics, etc., right? Anything extracurricular that they can also cling and aspire to, they will validate because they also want to do it too. And this white validation more than likely gave him the illusion that he can separate himself from his blackness, which really ain't the case. Last time I checked, black people ain't chameleons. Just because you hang around a bunch of white people does not mean you're gonna be light-skinned in 8 hours, bro. And me speculating about RG3 makes me think of how OJ Simpson also tried to separate himself from his blackness. There is no amount of white validation that is going to allow you to separate from your blackness because it is you. It will always be you. And the reason why I really wanted to talk about this RG3 situation is because it is a cautionary tale for interracial relationships. How do I know? Because my girlfriend is white, but I still know my blackness intimately. Interracial relationships can exist and they can be healthy, but they take work like anything else, you know what I'm saying? Like, for example, with me, you see the videos that I make, you see the topics that I talk about. I am very pro-black in what I do and what I speak on. I don't gain anything just because my partner is white. The only thing that I gain is more danger, really. Like, that, straight up. It's just dangerous to be in an interracial relationship essentially now. And it's not physically dangerous, it is ideologically dangerous if you don't understand the dynamics in which are at play in your relationship. For example, my blackness carries a certain stigma to the United States. That's just a state of the matter, right? That ain't a controversial statement, but I know somebody in the comment section gonna take a problem with it, so just delete it. Like, shut up. The key is really to just acknowledge that dynamic and work through it rather than trying to assimilate to one of the other's identity. And I made a video on this topic kind of about last year. If you want to watch my full thoughts on that, go ahead, it's gonna be in the description. The main point I was trying to make in that video is that black men specifically have to stop using other demographics of women to hate black women. Specifically with curvy white women too, dog. Like, just because they built like that does not mean that they are black women with less attitude. What the fuck? Like, you just hate black women. But on that note, being a black man in an interracial relationship, you cannot try to assimilate to their whiteness. Just because you're dating someone that benefits from white supremacy does not mean you get those benefits. In fact, you might get did even worse. And a lot of these black men who out for these white women, they try their best to escape blackness by ascribing to their white behaviors. Like, for example, he might try to clean up the way he speaks. He might start leaning a certain political way that I'm not even gonna say because you know where I lie. Or they just attack black people in general, saying that they're not good enough to be dated by white people. Nigga, neither are you. You're a fucking token. And RG3 is following these behaviors of trying to escape his blackness through fetishizing his white wife. I'm happy that Ryan Clark actually said something about RG3's behavior because he actually wants to protect black folks in the mainstream. Ryan Clark understands that black athletes face a much tougher time in the league because they're criticized not only for their game, but for their attitude and personality. White athletes don't have to go through that. Their attitude can be completely explained away with passion for the game. So let's look at RG3 as a cautionary tale as sports media analysts with biases that can actually harm the communities that look up to him. Well, like, I don't mean we look up to him, like, cause if you know ball for real, you never really took RG3 seriously, bro. But for the casual fans that may not have known that until they watch this video, look at him as a cautionary tale to not be like that. Just because your girlfriend is white does not mean you're a milkman. But if you're fawning over her whiteness and thinking that it's the most pure thing in the world since linen, now we got an issue. But the moral of this rant, man, is don't be like RG3, especially if you're in an interracial relationship. You don't have to be like that. And understand that sports media literacy has several layers to it, and there are a lot of things working at play that could have you believe in something that you never thought you would have. But if you enjoyed this rant, leave a like on this video and push your boy in the algorithm so everybody can see your boy, Bass Dom. Yes, sir, man. Leave a comment. I know I'm late on this. You don't have to tell me, but how did you feel about the Ryan Clark RG3 situation? Did you have the same thoughts as me? Let's have a dialogue in the comments. And subscribe, man. Every time I get to this portion, I just gotta speak candidly as I always do about y'all because I love and I care about y'all and I'm so happy for the community that we got and I'm more than grateful to keep pushing this shit forward. Y'all have been the biggest blessing to me. Y'all have just been everything I've ever wanted in a content career and I can't wait to see how far this keeps going. I appreciate my subscribers, both old and new, because you make my dreams of being a content creator realer and realer every day, and I love you. If you want to follow my Instagram, that's down in the description. If you want to follow my Blue Sky, that is also in the description as well. But yeah, man, it's been Bass Dom, people. Deuces.